we're about to do.
I went down.
Facts on facts on facts. Hello.
Yeah. 2. Yeah. Aye. I'm jacking the beat, you calling the cops. The yapping is cheap, I call you the ops. The rapping is heating, it's all cause of pop. You get a leak for the ball, get a drop. Feel like I'm wrong when I double it back, cause I'm making it harder to catch that. But I covered the ticket, I call you to visit. You tipping and hit up the cash app. Baby girl, been around for it, yeah. In the old days, I was stuck in old ways. Never really trying to flip the old page. Young man tripping at an old age. Thinking I was flicking, had a low wage. Late the bro days, then a slow praise. Thinking it'd be different, it would gon' change. Then it really didn't, it's a cold game, yeah. Ay, all I really wanted was the money in the pocket. Got over money, but the money ain't the topic. Like Bill Doe and the money gotta stop it. Kid need food and the whip need juice. I'ma get these views when the
Why they party? I'm in here grinding. Money I'm stacking. Why they rock diamonds? I can't relate to them, ain't my chick calming. I set a goal for me, 2 or 3 commas. 7 figures, 8 figures to 9 figures. On a slow pace to get rich quick. Same time we just think different. Cause when you make it, it hit different.
What it do, baby? It's your partner looking oh so fresh, cold, clean. You see that thing, baby? Take that damn picture while I pose and like some chicken in the corner and holler at your partner, guys. And welcome to another edition of the Countermove podcast, where we look at life from a wise perspective, looking at an issue, leaning and reason together, and prescribe the right solution. So if you could share, guys, and also subscribe if you find value on what we're talking about. Guys, this one's going to be, and I also let you guys know, we're growing a little bit, guys. We got sponsors, guys. We got some sponsors. What? But anyways, I'll let you guys know on a good sponsor at the end of the show, guys. But hey, let's dive into this real quickly here, okay? There's something going on in the in politics as well as in the legal arena, to where there is something going on with our guy, President Donald J. Trump. All right. Right now, President Donald Trump seeks legal presidential immunity. And this is going to be kind of a different type of discussion, guys, okay? Because of the fact that I'm going to need all my legal eagles on this one because we're kind of dealing in, I would say, unknown territory. Unknown meaning that it has never been I really dove into in depth like it is now. There was a previous case that was brought before back in Barack Obama's presidency, and the court ruled on that as well. Also, as far as when it came to ruling on what, gave a judgment on what it is. Now, right now, what's happening is President Trump, excuse me, and the special counsel attorneys are in front of a D.C. court of appeals or an appellate court, right? An appellate court is different than a civil or criminal court. Typically on the civil and criminal court, what normally happens is you actually have evidence. If it's a criminal court, you have evidence of the crime actually happening. If there's a civil issue, there is a disagreement on said subject. There's evidence of that disagreement of how it actually happened. With that evidence there, it's right there. In a court of appeals, typically an appellate court, it's a little different because of the fact that the only evidence that's actually on the table is the Constitution. That's the only evidence that we have on the table. That's it. All right? It's the U.S. Constitution. So now that I kind of set the stage on this, let's kind of dive a little bit into what actually has actually been happening And it's really talking about this presidential immunity. What immunity means is that when a president is actually in office, he is immune from prosecution because the legal argument, whether it be on the Democratic side or Republican side or in the independent side, is by having the president in while he's actually our president, um, being prosecuted, being sought by prosecution by prosecutors while he's serving, right? That could hinder his function as president. Well, the argument that's in front of the court right now is this: here is, hey, can he be prosecuted? Can the president be prosecuted on actions he's taken when he was president after he leaves office, whether he's beaten in an election or he terms out? That's been the question. And that's actually in front of the court right now. So let me set the stage again. The evidence is just the Constitution. That's what's in front of the Court of Appeals, or another word for it is the appellate court in DC. So let's see what's going on, and we'll kind of unpack the discussion between the sitting judges, right? Trump's attorneys and the special counsel. Okay, let's go on here. Let's see what's going on. Right, here we go. Let's go. Let's hear. You're going to hear this exchange between. Right now, this is President Trump's attorney and Judge Florence Pan, and she brings up a hypothetical later on in the exchange that we'll talk about as well. Also, here we go. Let's dive in this real fast. Here we go.
Authorize the prosecution of a president for his official acts would open a Pandora's box from which this nation may never recover. Could George W. Bush be prosecuted for obstruction of an official proceeding for allegedly giving false information to Congress to induce the nation to go to war in Iraq under false pretenses? Could President Obama be potentially charged with murder for allegedly authorizing drone strikes targeting U.S. citizens located abroad?
So what President Trump's attorney is talking about are actual actions that President George Bush, the second Bush, and President Obama did while they were in office. So he's talking about these are actions they actually took while they were the president, the chief executive of the United States, right? The president. And now they're out of office. And what he's saying is, can those two presidents now be prosecuted or went after from a legal standpoint for actions they committed while they were president after they leave office? That's what he's talking about. Let's keep going.
President.
So can I explore sort of the implications of what you're arguing? I understand your position to be that a president is immune from criminal prosecution for any official act that he takes as president, even if that action is taken for an unlawful or unconstitutional purpose. Is that correct?
With an important exception, which is that if the president is impeached and convicted by the United States Senate in a, proceeding that reflects, widespread political consensus, that would authorize the prosecution under the plain language of the impeachment judgment clause.
So what President Trump's attorney is talking about, and this judge is actually asking a constitutional question. What he's saying is she's saying that so if a president commits these acts, whether it is illegal or unconstitutional, right, while he's president, are you saying that he's immune from that? And what they're saying is he's saying, yes, they are from prosecution, right? And he's pointing toward the Constitution. Now he's saying that he could be impeached and then convicted after impeachment. Let's keep going.
So yes, with that exception.
The impeachment clause is clear.
So let's go back to that again real fast to the exchange. Let's go back to it. Here we go.
Unlawful or unconstitutional purpose.
Let's go back.
Is immune from criminal. So can I explore sort of the implications of what you're arguing? I understand your position to be that a president is immune from criminal prosecution for any official act that he takes as president, even if that action is taken for an unlawful or unconstitutional purpose. Is that correct?
With an important exception, which is that if the president is impeached and convicted by the United States Senate in a, proceeding that reflects, widespread political consensus, that would authorize the prosecution under the plain language of the impeachment judgment clause.
So he's pointing back to the Constitution on that. She actually asked a very good question. She's saying that if a president commits an illegal act or unconstitutional act while he's president, are you saying that he's immune after he leaves office from being prosecuted? She said, is he be immune for being prosecuted? And then Trump's attorney then says, he says, yes. He says, but there's an exception, or there's a plain text that speaks to that. He should be impeached, removed, and then it could be prosecuted if they've done it right. He's pointing back toward the Constitution. We're going to see that in a second. All right. So that's a really good exchange. Now, let's do something else real quickly. Let's do something else real quickly. Let's go to, there's an exchange he also has at the end here real quickly. And I want to give you guys the entire context so we can know what's going on. Here's another exchange of him speaking. Give me 1 second while I get it up. There it is. Got it. You're not going to move? Here we go. This is him talking about the consequences of opening up this Pandora's box. Let's keep going. Here we go.
Has to look over his shoulder or her shoulder every time he or she has to make a controversial decision. And worry, after I leave office, if I go into jail for this, when my political opponents take power, that inevitably dampens the ability of the president.
I mean, that's the line.
So what he's saying there is, and that was what he's saying there is, if a president can be pursued, is not immune from actions that he actually takes while he's president, and he exits the presidency, right? And he can be convicted, right, going outside of what he prescribed the Constitution talks about when removing the president. He could say that the president has to be governing or looking over his shoulder. Now, if you look at this, and I'm giving a little bit of context as well. For instance, when it comes to Congress, if a congressman or a senator can literally lie, if they commit that lie on the floor of the House or the floor of the Senate, but they are immune from prosecution. Let me say that again. A House of representative or a senator can lie on the floor of the House or the Senate floor, and they're immune from prosecution. That's the law. And so what he's saying what Trump's attorney is saying, he's saying that, hey, if you open this up, the president, no matter if he's Democratic or Republican, will have the government looking over his shoulder, because in his mind he could be saying, hey, if I do this, could my political opponent after I leave office now come after me and try to convict me of an act that I did while I was president? Now get this, the act could be a legal act, right? But the political opponent could interpret it as being illegal, because the prosecution has a prosecutor's discretion. The same thing if it's unconstitutional. If the political opponent says, I believe that it is unconstitutional, if they open this up, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. The prosecutor interprets that to be the case. You see how that could be a kind of an issue there, because it's all based on someone's moral compass, someone's interpretation, right? So what he's saying is, just like the House and the Senate has to govern without looking over their shoulder, the same thing is applying for the president, because the Constitution prescribes the remedy for if any of these exceptions actually happen. That's what he's saying. Now, there was an exchange. That, I couldn't find it that was clean, without a lot of commentary, and I don't want it to be skewed left or right on this one at all. There was exchange between Judge Pan and President Trump's attorney, and she gave a hypothetical. Okay, and I'm saying this hypothetical now because you're going to see the responses here in a second from two different sides on this act. The question was, if the president of the United States, while he's president, asks or instructs SEAL Team 6, because he's commander in chief, to go out and take out their political opponent, could the president be immune from that? President Trump's attorney pointed back to the only evidence that was actually on the floor, which was the Constitution. He said, based on what the framers actually put out there, he would have to be impeached, and that can be done very quickly, and then he could be convicted. So there's a process that he says that the Constitution, as far as when it comes to the executive branch, has put in place to take care of these exceptions. This hypothetical she put up there. It was a very interesting exchange. I wish I could play it, guys, but it was so much commentary on everybody saying something. It wasn't clean. So forgive me. If you look it up, if it's on YouTube, you'll hear that exchange. All right. Judge Penn asks a hypothetical, right? But anyways, based on the hypothetical, let's go to the MSNBC. They came in. It actually had something to say about this. And it was his name was George Conway. He's an attorney, right? And they brought him on to get some type of thought processes on what do you think this is. But let's see what I say. Here he goes. Boom. Here we go. Boom. Now watch this. This is based on really the hypothetical. Here we go.
Decision any day, any moment from the D.C. Court of Appeals on whether Donald Trump is immune, as he claims, from criminal charges for attempting to overturn the election. In yesterday's hearing on this, the three judges in the panel certainly seem skeptical. Conservative attorney George Conway, who was in that courtroom, points out that Trump's lawyers had a difficult case to begin with because their position is clearly not correct under either precedent or the Constitution. But in making the arguments they had, they also fell into a trap. It happened when one judge, Florence Pam,
here comes the exchange.
Trump's lawyers on the implications of his argument.
Here comes the exchange.
Could a president who ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival who was not impeached, would he be subject to criminal prosecution?
If he were impeached and convicted first.
In response to that moment, Conway writes, quote, "The damage was done and Pan's point was devastatingly made. On the one hand, Trump's lawyer argued the Constitution gave the president absolute immunity for his official acts. On the other hand, if the United States Congress effectively gives permission by impeaching and convicting, well, then yes, a president can be prosecuted, and wait for it, he's not absolutely immune." George Conway joins me now. He's a contributing writer for the.
Now, here's MSNBC.
I found your argument here interesting, and it was not the way. It didn't dawn on me in the same way that it did to you, that moment. And I want you to explain why that, and Judge Pam was very focused on it. She kept coming at it again and again and again. Why that moment was so important for Trump's argument sort of collapsing.
Well, there are a couple of reasons for that. I mean, first of all, Judge Pan was trying to do two things as I see it. One was she was trying to elicit a concession from Trump's counsel that his position was extreme. And at the same time, when Trump's counsel resisted saying that, yes, a president is absolutely immune for sending in SEAL Team 6, she then sort of went to the underbelly of the argument that he was making as to why it wasn't always the case, which was this argument based upon the secondary provision that Trump relies on, which is the impeachment judgment clause, which says that you can prosecute somebody criminally after you impeach and remove them through Congress. And her point really was that there was a tension between those two positions. In addition to the fact that the position he was taking was extreme under one clause, the second clause, the second provision, which is the impeachment judgment provision, basically undercuts the absolute immunity claim because it makes clear that office holders, and it doesn't exclude the president, can be prosecuted after being removed from office. And so she kept drilling on that, and then she makes the point that, okay, well, if you're saying that he can be prosecuted under some circumstances when Congress does impeach and convict and remove a president, You're not saying he's absolutely immune. And so that's the reason why his Trump's position collapsed was it was not only was it extreme, but it was at war with itself.
Right.
Okay.
And when you get that kind, and the other thing that made it worse for Trump's lawyer is when you're going to have to make a concession to a judge who is very smart and is not going to let things go, you make the concession.
Right.
You say, yes, because it is their position that a president who's not impeached and removed can get away with anything. It has to be their position because there's not much worse other than perhaps sending SEAL Team 6 to the Capitol than what he did. So sometimes you just have to accept the fact that your position is out there because it's the only one you can take. Now it's a loser, to be sure.
Here is what I kind of see as the kind of response to this as we go. What Mr. Conway just kind of presented is the judge presented a hypothetical, right? He presented a hypothetical to President Trump's attorney, right? The problem with a hypothetical is you don't make laws based on hypotheticals. You don't rule on hypotheticals. You rule on actual evidence. That is the one thing that I see as he's talking in response to this about the exchange between Judge Pan and President Trump's attorney. There's no criminality, right? There's no criminality of a hypothetical. There has to be actual evidence, right? Whether it be criminal, civil, or in this case, constitutional, because the Constitution itself is the evidence, right? And so what George Conway just said, respectfully, is he said that by President Trump's attorney pointing toward the Constitution, which is section, don't get me wrong, it's it's Article 2, section, I believe it's 4 of the Constitution. He's pointing toward that. He's saying by Trump's attorney pointing toward the actual Constitution as a way to deal with this hypothetical that the judge detailed, he says it's a self-defeating argument. I'm confused by that whole premise. So let me get this straight. Pointing toward the evidence, the actual evidence in the courtroom defeats your argument? I'm thoroughly confused by literally pointing toward the evidence, the Constitution. He's saying that it defeats the argument. Huh? But let's keep going, guys. That's kind of confusing to me. It doesn't make logical sense at all. But let's keep going, guys. Let's keep going. Let's see what else you got to say. Let's go.
Sure, but you do not make a weak argument stronger by blending it with an even weaker one. That is appellate advocacy 101. In addition to, answer the questions.
So that's such an interesting and I think really important point. I just want to stay with it for a second because I think it's key. Yeah. I mean, the opening bid, right, from Trump's lawyers is he is absolutely immune for official acts at the outer perimeter of his official duties. And that means anything from sending SEAL Team 6, as Jack Smith's office, I think, smartly sort of raised, to selling pardons. These are clearly, we would say, criminal enterprises, but they intermix with the official acts. And what you're saying is what they realized, I think, is that was too extreme and they needed a fallback. So they've concocted this sort of, fakakta kind of.
Fakakta is a good word.
Fakakta Rube
Michigas would be a good word too.
Construction, which is like this weird impeachment thing. And you're saying by constructing the fallback so that you're not making the extreme argument, you're also undercutting the clarity of the argument itself.
That's exactly right. And it goes even beyond the fact that it's that the impeachment judgment clause is inconsistent with absolute presidential criminal immunity. The rationales that he was presenting were inconsistent. His rationale that he kept repeating to the panel Sauer, Trump's lawyer, he kept saying the reason why we have to have absolute criminal immunity is because of the specter that some other president, his client actually, might go and start prosecuting, engaging in political prosecutions to punish his enemies. Okay,
that's reasonable.
Okay, that's not a crazy argument. We don't want
Not at
political
all.
prosecutions of politicians
Correct.
for simply doing their jobs.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the argument that he said that, well, you can prosecute a president
exactly.
when the Congress of the United States says you can.
Right.
And excuse me, that's the most political spot in the universe right there.
Right.
So I'm kind of confused with what my man's in them is saying. I'm confused. So they're laughing about Trump's attorney pointing toward the Constitution, which is the only evidence in the courtroom. So using the Constitution to justify your argument, literally reading the text of the Constitution, is laughable. And because you're saying, well, it's political. They have went up, down, side to side, in and out. They don't make no sense. But hey, let's keep going, y'all. Let's keep going. I am confused. I'm really, really confused. Here we go.
Exactly,
I mean,
right.
Come on.
Right, so if the political
his argument
judgment is
made
rendered,
no
yeah.
sense on many levels. Yeah.
That is a really, really excellent point. I was
and
very,
thank you for the backdrop. It really helped.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we do what we can. George Conway, who was in that room, who himself.
All right, y'all. That was confusing on many levels. But hey, I digress. Let's go over to ACLJ. They came in and they actually talked about this as well, guys. And they offered their they talked about their whole thing as well. So let's see what they have to say real fast, and then we kind of go from there. Here we go. Let's go. This is their response. Here we go.
This is the special counsel brought this unique case, Jack Smith, to determine presidential immunity, specifically, what acts are immune, and then just figure out how his prosecution would move forward, because he knew that would be an issue that would be brought up, and of course has to be determined to even move forward on the allegations that he has made against President Trump, these specific to January 6th, and again, discussing that there was an impeachment there, but there was no conviction. And so do you have to have that when you're talking about an acting president who's now not in office to then have a prosecution? You have to have not just the impeachment part, but the conviction part as well to move forward. And so it's this major discussion really over presidential powers, immunity of a president. And of course, this is a unique situation, Dad, because this is not just a former president, but he's also a current candidate for president of the United States and the leading candidate right now.
So the issue, it should have been framed, and I don't think it was framed as well as it could have been. Does a action of a president while he is president, within the confines of his official duties, give him immunity from later prosecution? And the answer to that question should be yes. But for some reason,
So off the rip, you actually have the lawyers at the ACLJ who actually argue these type of cases in front of the Supreme Court all the time. Supreme Court, appellate courts, international courts, state courts. They have a pretty robust law firm. What they're saying is, to answer that question that Judge Payne actually prescribed, that hypothetical, he said, is he immune? Yes, he is. But they were also critical of how the questions were framed, and also how the Trump team actually addressed this issue. They're saying that it got off the line. They wasn't focused on what it should be. But let's keep going.
it got convoluted, Andy, I thought, in the argument, in the sense that they were saying, well, there's these exceptions. And he started with the exceptions rather than with what the rules should be.
Yeah.
Once you start carving out exceptions, then you eat up the rule. I agree with you that the way that it was phrased.
I would agree with that. When it comes to a lot of judges, what actually happens a lot of times is when there's not, when you're in a constitutional type of scenario, a normal legal strategy is to create hypotheticals, or exceptions to said law to cut away from the actual principle being detailed in said document called the Constitution. That's normally what's done. And what they're saying, which I agree with, they're saying because you allowed that to be invited in, you allowed for them to begin to cut away from what the central focal argument should be. Let's keep going.
Was not the way that it should have been posited before the court, because then the court could chip away as it did with these various exceptions.
I think this is where it started on the kind of idea of where are these narrow exceptions. Here it is. It's by force sour. This is first you'll hear the attorney for President Trump, who was the former Solicitor General of Missouri. Then you will hear from the judge asking the question there, Judge Pan. Take a listen.
To authorize the prosecution of a president for his official acts would open a Pandora's box from which this nation may never recover. Could George W. Bush be prosecuted for obstruction of an official proceeding for allegedly giving false information to Congress to induce the nation to go to war in Iraq under false pretenses? Could President Obama be potentially charged with murder for allegedly authorizing drone strikes targeting U.S. citizens located abroad?
Great question.
Could President...
So can I explore sort of the implications of what you're arguing? I understand your position to be that a president is...
So before we go on to what he actually details actual acts that past presidents have done. All right. So understand that this is little actions, little evidence. Here we go.
Immune from criminal prosecution for any official act that he takes as president, even if that action is taken for an unlawful or unconstitutional purpose. Is that correct?
With an important exception, which is that if the president is impeached and convicted by the United States Senate in a, proceeding that reflects, widespread political consensus, that would authorize the prosecution under the plain language of the impeachment judgment clause. Okay. So yes, with that exception.
The impeachment clause is clear about that. If you are impeached and convicted, you are removed from office, but it doesn't just end there for you necessarily, Dad. That's true. The question is, in those hypotheticals, would ordering someone, as they said later, to be killed, still, what does fall within an official act, and what would
this
actually
is where
be?
It went awry.
Right.
Okay.
I agree.
It should have been. They should have been arguing the entire time the clause of the Constitution that the president is responsible to faithfully execute. It's called the execution clause.
Correct.
The Constitution of the United States. That's what he was doing when he was checking on whether the election was properly done or not. That was in his duties as president, and that's where the case should have ended.
He's trying to determine what's official, what's not, and that they have to take all this advice from it raises the idea of that the lawyer.
That is, I love how they're unpacking this. Man, this is a legal class that they're talking about. What they're talking about is when it comes to is as long as you stay on out of the hypothetical zone and on the actual facts. Notice how Jay Sekulow and his son as well also, they are stating literal facts, what's actually in the Constitution, because that's the only evidence that's actually in the appellate court. That's it, just the Constitution. So they're pointing back toward the little evidence, right? They're saying, disregard the hypotheticals. The evidence is here, right? Let's keep going.
Lawyers to the president, and I've thought this for the last, since you've been in those roles too, were way too high. It was like lawyers are not who should be running.
Lawyers we were not elected by the American people to be the president.
Exactly. The Department of Justice, right, is not detailed in the evidence. Again, what's the evidence? The Constitution. Only the president, the House, and the Senate are in there, and the judicial branch. There's only three branches of judgment: the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch. In the executive branch, there exists one person, the president. The Department of Justice, Department of Interior, Homeland Security, all of those offices, all those cabinet areas, those are actually subordinate to the president. So what they're saying is the American people did not vote for attorneys. So the president doesn't have to consult with the attorney initially and say, do what the attorney says to do. The attorneys that work for the president report to him. And this is a good legal class. Here we go.
President of the United States. So saying, because we were those lawyers. So saying you were the lawyers, well, I got the lawyer's advice to do it. He's the president and commander in chief. He is required under the Constitution to make sure the laws are faithfully executed. That should be the beginning
That's correct.
and the end of this case.
That's correct.
And both sides did a rather
terrible job,
mediocre job of getting that through.
Well, I think they did a very poor job of getting it through. But you're right, Jay. The laws be faithfully executed, and that is a decision that is made by the chief executive, by the president of the United States. And as Jordan mentioned, this is not for lawyers to make counseling decisions. I mean, he may take advice if he wants to.
Yes.
But once that decision is taken, it's a political decision taken by the president to effectively execute the Constitution, and that ends the inquiry.
15 years from now, whatever happens in these cases is going to greatly impact how presidents govern.
It is.
Oh, no question. Listen, we're going to be fully engaged.
When the kind of the heat dies down over Trump and Biden and the special counsels and all of these January 6th and all of those issues, and you're just talking about future presidents where this is very much history, but it's history that's going to decide how they govern. Because right now it sounds like they need to mostly hire a law firm and put them inside the Oval Office for any decision they want to make.
Yeah, which is not the way the Constitution is.
And that's what they're warning about, is that if you start this process, that all it becomes as president is being sued in court, civil.
1 second.
And criminal.
There's already too many lawyers involved in presidential decision making. To be clear, same thing's true in combat. Too many lawyers involved, and now this is just going to, if they decide there is no immunity here, this is just going to amp that up, Andy, 1,000-fold.
Well, I think you're right. We do have too many lawyers that are involved in something that is a presidential decision.
So get this, guys. You have licensed attorneys saying that there's too many attorneys in the room. Hey, I agree with that. They are, teaching a master class on the role of the presidency and the role of who reports to him, i.e. the attorneys. That includes the Department of Justice, right? The Department of Justice is a part of the executive branch, okay? They're under the executive branch. We're going to look at the Constitution in a second. You're going to see how vital this is. Let's keep going. Let's go.
Position. And I think that this oral argument today stands for one proposition. You better have a good, solid, simple, straightforward legal theory and stick with that legal theory.
That's correct.
Because you're going to be chipped away at by judges in oral argument. And unless you can go back to the same argument that you have, your core argument, this is the president, he is immune for official acts taken during the pendency of his presidency. These are very important things. Stick with it and stick to it.
Within the core of his presidency, the enforcement of the laws to be faithfully executed, including the election laws, uniquely vesting in the executive, and he had the right to do that. Right. And this isn't the case where he murdered someone with SEAL Team 6.
And that's hypothetical.
Okay,
that's correct.
That was not be. So you would argue those were not presidential duties and responsibilities, unless something happened to SEAL Team 6 when he decided to put them out into a mission, and they're going to now have him sued for that.
Yes, I mean, all of that gets more complicated than how the judge.
That is so good. What he's saying is, if what the special counsel is actually presenting right now, and let's take that hypothetical, okay? What he's saying is, based on that hypothetical, if the president is not immune from actions that he committed while he was president, after he leaves the presidency, right? The SEAL team can be sued. The Navy can be sued because they're part of the Navy. The Department of Defense could be sued, and the president could be sued as well and criminally charged. It would cripple the executive branch. Because why? They're under the executive branch. And whenever you give that type of leeway to a prosecutor, they're going to find how they can get the biggest bag. Man, this was a it was a legal master class. I love this. Now, guys, let's look at the Constitution, because what you kept seeing is Trump's attorney pointing toward the Constitution, right? That's what he kept doing, right? So let's go to the Constitution. All right, the executive branch portion, of the Constitution. I don't know what's going on. Here we go. All right, we'll make this a little bigger for everybody so everybody can see. All right, let's walk through the Constitution because we believe in the facts, right? Believe in the facts. Let's go. Make it a little bigger for everybody in the back row. There we go. Here we go. Let's look at the Constitution. This is Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution. Here we go. It says, let me make it bigger for the folk in the back row, because I know at times I can be a little blind too, so don't you worry. Your boy Dale got you. There we go. Look at your partner. This is Article 2 of Section 1. It says, I want you to pay attention to the verbiage. It says, the executive power shall be vested in what? A president. One person. One person. That's it. Not a group of people, right? Not a body, not a Senate, not a House. A president. That means one of the United States. Then it says, he shall hold his office during the terms of 4 years, and together with the vice president chosen for the same term be elected as follows. And it goes through all that stuff as well. Right? So let me read this again. This is the executive branch. We have the what? Legislative branch, executive branch, and the judicial branch. This is only the executive branch. It says, the executive power shall be vested in a president. That's why the presidency is unique. That's why it's unique, guys, because it is one person. All powers and authority for the executive branch come from one person. If you look at the Senate, if you look at the legislative branch, you have two bodies. You have senators, and you also have a House of Representatives. That makes sense, guys? Two different bodies. You have body, and then you have the judicial branch, where it has many different courts. So there's many entities, or many members in both the legislative branch and the judicial branch. The executive branch is different because it is one person. All things begin and end with one person, the president, when it comes to the executive branch power and authority. It's a different office than the other two branches of government. Period. Right? That's simple. Let's keep going, guys. Boom. Now, let's go to the portion to where they were talking about when it comes to when Trump's attorney was talking about answering the hypothetical or the question of presidential immunity, right? The question was this here: if a president commits illegal acts or unconstitutional acts while he's president, is he immune for those acts? Trump's attorney said, yes, he is. And he pointed toward this Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution. Because that's the only evidence that's actually in the room. That's simple, right? Let's read it together for the folk in the back row. It says, the president, that's again one person, vice president, that's another person, right? And all civil officers of the United States. Civil officers means his cabinet, right? All secretaries, the Department of Defense, all the civil officers that come out of the executive branch, right? All of them. They all report to the president and the vice president, right? It says the president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States, right, shall be removed from office on what? Impeachment comes first. Impeachment for and conviction of and treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. There's a process. It's impeachment because that's the political process, because the election of the president is political. So you have to resolve it politically first. Impeachment, right? He is no longer. Now, why is impeachment so important? Oh, this is so good. Thank you, Holy Ghost. Why this is so good, guys, is this here. It's why is the impeachment so important? Because All powers and authority come from one person, the president. As long as he's the president, he is the branch. He alone is the executive branch. So from a political standpoint, he's part of the three branches of government. So in order for you to go after him criminally, right, for conviction, as it says, right, what you have to do is remove him out of that branch. Remove him first. Then you can convict him. That's why it says right here, it says impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors. Impeachment has to happen first because of the fact that he's the head of he is the branch. He is the executive branch. He's the head and he is the branch. So you have to remove him out of the branch and then go after him. That's why impeachment is so important. So to answer the hypothetical that the judge actually talked about concerning if the president was to, because he's the commander in chief, send in SEAL Team 6 to take out his political opponent, is he immune from that? Trump's attorney responded correctly. He said there's a process. He's immune from it, but you have to go through the process. If he says it's president, he's immune from it. But you have to go through the process of impeaching him, removing him out of the branch. He's no longer the head of the branch. Then conviction, not based on my opinion, based on the Constitution. Right here. Now, on MSNBC, you actually saw George Conway laughing at this premise. I'm confused at why you're laughing, brother, because it's clear. This is the text. This is the text of the Constitution. I'm not tripping at all. It's simple. We had to question him. So his impeachment wasn't enough. He had to have been removed. No, impeachment is removing of the president out of it. So when it comes to impeachment, you have two sides. Quick question on Instagram. He's impeached in the House, then he's tried in the Senate, and then he's convicted in the Senate. That's the impeachment process. It's real simple. It's not hard. Impeachment, there's a two-stage process. Got it? Cool. That's it. Once he's removed from office, based on the hypothetical, then you can go after him. Sure. But and of course, it could be an expedient process, right? But at the exact same time, what he's saying is, as the president, if you actually do this, right? Because that's an exception. That's a really extreme exception that can be carved out. If a president willfully goes out and kills somebody, come on. Anybody in their right mind knows he's guilty of that. Like willfully does it. Look, come on. Let's not playing. But what he's saying is, any acts as president, he should not be going after, right? After he leaves office, whether it be he loses the election or he terms out, right? What they're saying is he has to be able to govern without get this as subordinate looking over his shoulders. The Department of Justice is a part of the executive branch. So now what's happening, if this happens, what literally happens is this here. Come back to me. What literally happens is this here. Boom, come back to me. Come on, guys. Boom. What happens is this here. If what the special counsel is presenting in the appellate court, if this actually happens, guys, what he's effectively saying is the president should no longer be the branch itself. He should be subordinate to those that report to him in the Department of Justice. That makes no sense. That will destroy the function of the government. It literally will, because the Department of Justice is a part of the executive branch. But at the exact same time, that hypothetical is irrelevant, because that is a hypothetical that has nothing to do with what is presenting in front of the appellate court. Because the only evidence in the appellate court or the Court of Appeals, is the Constitution. That's it. That's why Trump's attorney correctly quoted Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution, which MSNBC, they laughed at, which I'm confused. I'm confused. I know why, but I'm confused. Why would you laugh at the text in the Constitution while at the same time trying to wrap yourself in the Constitution? That's asinine. That doesn't make any sense at all. So Trump's team is I gotta give to, even though how they kind of fell into that hypothetical trap was bad execution from an argumentative standpoint based on the Constitution. They're spot on. They are spot on. You cannot go after a president after he leaves office for acts he actually did while he was president. If you do that, you cripple the executive branch, and you make him de facto subordinate to the very entity, one of the very division that's in the executive branch called the Department of Defense. That's asinine. It's dumb. That doesn't make any sense at all, on no levels at all. So I got to give it to him, guys. The ACLJ gave a masterclass on that. They were critical of the Trump team and how they presented everything, but at the exact same time actually gave a great legal masterclass on the MSNBC response to that. Their argument didn't make any sense at all. It didn't make any logical sense, constitutional sense. It didn't make any sense. And if that's the case, if what MSNBC is saying, right, when the president is all the time, they actually do unconstitutional things all the time. If that's the case, every president in history, man, we talking about Obama, Clinton, Bush, they should be convicted. I don't agree with that at all. No, but that's what they're presenting. The special counsel side makes no sense at all. Dumb. Says on Instagram, we got some questions, guys, on Instagram. I hope, guys, I hope I actually did a pretty good job at kind of presenting that a little bit, which is fine. I sure will. I'll save this live. I'll save it, guys. I'll save it. I'm gonna have to repost it, guys. But anyways, guys, if the special counsel gets his way, but I think it'll get overturned if the appellate court rules in favor of the special counsel. It'll get overturned in the Supreme Court because of the fact that it's unconstitutional. It doesn't make any sense based on the text, because the only evidence in the room is the Constitution, not a hypothetical. We don't make laws on hypotheticals at all. We make laws on evidence, facts, not hypotheticals. And what the Judge Pan did is she presented a hypothetical. I understand why she did it, but whenever you are welcoming a hypothetical and get off your argument, you allow for the hypothetical to cut away your argument, which is improper and really dangerous, to be honest with you. But guys, man, I hope I gave you guys some value today, guys. That's really my Countermove guy was my reaction as well, guys. I would say PB sweeping to keep it, guys. Understand the law. I love what my guy Deontay Ford does. And Sunni, they actually read the laws. Understand the laws, right? Seek wise counsel. Unpack those laws so that you have a proper understanding of what you can and cannot do, right? Because most individuals don't understand the basis of the court. You have civil, criminal, and appellate court, appeals court. Those three different courts have three different functions. But all of them are based off evidence. In the appellate court, which is where this is at, the only evidence that's in the room is the Constitution. That is it. Period. And Article 2, Section 4 details how any exceptions should be addressed. Very simple, not hard. But guys, thank you for your time, guys, man. Hey, guys, we're getting big, y'all. We're getting big. We got some sponsors, y'all. We got some sponsors, man. This is the company, one of the companies that I ain't gonna lie to you, I actually own the company. But at the exact same time, guys, take a look at this, guys. One of the sponsors, guys. Take a look at it, guys. Let me know what you think about it. And then we kind of go from there. Here we go.
Majors, I'm the CEO of American Rounds. We are in Pell City, Alabama at Fresh Value grocery store installing the first ever automated retail machine for ammunition. The stores were really the inspiration for it. I mean, they knew their customer base, and they came to us and thought this would be a really good opportunity for their customer base. There's a lot of hunting community here in Pell City, and thought that their customers would love an opportunity to be able to buy ammunition here at the store.
We're super excited to offer, what we think is the first ammo kiosk. We're always looking for ways to give our customer another reason to come visit our stores. Anything that we can do to help them make their shopping trips easier, based on the feedback that we've gotten just from customers today. They are so excited about us having the ammo kiosk.
We're getting ammo!
One of the ways we're changing the landscape of ammunition sales is to make it more available. Being able to move into a place like a grocery store, supermarket, makes it a lot more available to the public. But we're taking a different approach to it. Traditionally, ammunition is sold at outdoor type stores, your sporting goods stores, and it just sits on a shelf. It's very accessible. Because of that, there's a high rate of theft. But with our machines, as you can see here, we have a very secure automated retail machine. We're able to age verify. We scan a driver's license. It then takes 360 facial recognition for the purchase and matches it to the ID. So the machines really provide an opportunity for safe, affordable, and available ammunition sales.
There is no doubt that foot traffic will increase based on the feedback that we've gotten. And again, we're super excited not only to have it here, but in other locations in Fresh Value as well.
We're really excited about where we're going. We are going to continue to expand here in Alabama. We have a machine slated to go into Oklahoma, Louisiana, Texas. So over the next year, we're looking forward to, seeing these roll out all throughout the South and the Southeast.
Yeah, guys, that is American Rounds, guys. They are revolutionizing ammo sales, guys, to make it more accessible, but also safe at the exact same time. So check them out, guys. Check them out. Go to American Rounds, at American Rounds is what they are on all platforms, at American Rounds, right? And so let me do this real fast. Here we go, guys. Boom. At American Rounds. At American Rounds, where it is, guys. But guys, thank you so much for your time. God bless you. I hope I added some value today. But how we do it before you leave and while you can. Oh, my bad, y'all. One last thing, guys. My fault. Tomorrow, guys, Cliff and I are actually having Real Estate Friday, man. We rolled out something pretty cool, guys. But here's a little taste of what you get from Real Estate Live tomorrow. Here we go. What's good, baby? It's your boy Dale. I'm back in the saddle again. Our motto is to buy, build. We already bought it already, so we already own it, free and clear. Refinance to long-term debt, cash flow. That is the motto. Cliff, man, is that a pretty strong motto, man? What do you think?
Man, the model is strong. Like, you're getting each piece of the invest, right?
Hey guys, that's Real Estate Friday training live, guys, every Friday at 5 p.m. CST, guys. Your partner and Cliff, we dive into real estate. We talk about the current economic climate, and also give you a skill that you can begin to implement today and make 5, 10, 20 grand in your first month, guys. But guys, man, it's tomorrow at 5 p.m. CST. We guys, thank you so much for your time. God bless you. I end it every single time, guys, before you leave. And while you can, you see me in my orange, baby, looking so fresh, so clean. Take that damn picture and give it to your mom and them. That's it with your chest and for your partner. And holla at your partner. God bless you guys. See you tomorrow. Peace.